I just finished designing this professional looking modern mockup in Figma that I'd like to use for my new Creative Crew community website. Now, normally I'd just build this out in Wix Studio and it'd probably take me a few hours. But since I'm a one-man web design business, I love when I can save some time. So I'm going to use this new plugin called Figma to Wix Studio to convert my static Figma design into a powerful, responsive website on Wix Studio. All right, so here I am in Figma, and you can see this is the design that I want to use. So I'm going to go to the plugins right here under the resources. You can go to plugins and search for Figma to Wix Studio. That plugin will show up right here. You can also check it out in the community. This is the Figma to Wix Studio official plugin built by the Wix Studio team. So now what we can do is click on that plugin, and it's going to give us some instructions to export our Figma designs to Wix Studio. So click on Set Up Export, and that's going to give you some instructions. We want to connect this file to Wix Studio. The way we can do that, if we're in the desktop app, the native app, then just go Command L. It'll copy the Figma file link to your clipboard. If you're using the browser, just copy the URL. Now we need to create a new studio site. Go to wixstudio.com, sign up for free. And then what I want you to do is create a new site from a blank canvas. Now what you need to do is click on the Wix Studio logo in the top left and then go to Tools, Import from Figma. That'll add that to your left side toolbar. And so now we can import from Figma. Remember that URL we copied from our project? Paste that in here, click Connect. So now it is aware of our Figma project right here. So once you're done connecting your file, click I'm done connecting my file and then click Next. So we want to match our editing size to the frame width to maintain consistent sizing. If they don't match, the frames will scale to fit the editing size. So it's okay if you forget, but it's best practice to match the two. So here's how. Check out your top level frame. I can see that it is 1280 pixels wide. So what I want to do is head over to my Wix Studio site and make sure that my editing size is 1280, and it already is. Perfect. So now what we'll do is click Start Export. And so here is where we get to choose our starting point. Now, let's say we're working on the site and we want to skip to this part in the plugin. Sometimes you'll close the plugin, you'll do some work, and then you'll click on a new frame or the main frame here in the layers. Go back to your plugin, click on the plugin, and you don't want to go through the whole setup portion of the plugin again. So just click Skip Setup and it'll go straight to your starting point. So we have three options here: the export style, which is recommended first step, export frame, which is choosing a specific frame in our layers panel, or the top level frame to export the entire site, or to use wireframes. For now, we're going to jump into exporting our style and then exporting some frames to get this site over into Wix Studio, lickety split. All right, so now that Figma and Wix Studio are talking via the Figma to Wix Studio plugin, the first step is to export the style from the site. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose the specific frame that we want the styles to be exported from. Good practice here is to export the styles from the entire site. So choose the top level frame, and that's going to take a moment here to look at all the styles, and then we can export those over to Wix Studio. All right, so here are the styles it wants to export. It's got all these different colors that I'm using on the site. So this is just combing through the entire top level frame and finding all the colors with the hex codes. And then typography is all here, all the fonts and font sizes that I'm using. So I'm going to go ahead and click Export Styles. The styles were exported. Go to the Import from Figma panel on Wix Studio to view them. Let's go check it out. So here it's importing from Figma. And here we have exactly what we saw in the plugin, the colors and the typography. I'm going to go ahead and apply these styles to site. That's going to apply our site color styles right here, background and text colors to action colors to our extra colors, and then it just has defaults here. So that's great. We can adjust this if we want. I actually want to make this gray somewhere around here. And this to me looks fine. And the typography, we can see that that came over as well. So it's using a heading 1 and a heading 2. And then we've got our paragraph 1, 2, and 3 using our cabinet grotesque medium. But the problem is I can see heading 3, 4, 5, and 6 are just using the default Wix made for font because I didn't utilize heading 3, 4, 5, and 6 in my design. So if I wanted, I can change that right now by clicking on it and editing this to make sure to use our proper font. So I'm going to use the cabinet grotesque medium. And if you have a problem with the site fonts, if you use a special font in Figma and it's not available in your Wix Studio account, then all you have to do is click on it and you can upload new fonts right here, and then it will work for you. So now that our site styles are set up from the typography to the colors, that means that anything that we add to the site is going to use those styles by default. So I want you to notice how I've structured my layers here in Figma. We have a top level frame, and as a children of that frame, we have other frames that are the sections of the site. So we've got the header, hero, the statement, benefits, about, and these are all frames within the top level home frame. And that's important because those will be exported as sections and translated as sections in Wix Studio. Make sure that your spacing is correct. If you have any overlapping frames, that might create some issues. So like for this one, for example, that looks like this is slightly overlapping. That may cause some conflicts in the plugin. So just make sure you just move it. And the spacing that you show in your design in Figma is going to be translated as margins in our Wix Studio site. So make sure that everything is good in your design. And then what we're going to do is go to our plugin and we're going to skip the setup, export a frame, and we're going to select one frame at a time. You can choose the inside frames, which we'll get to momentarily, but I'm actually just going to select the home frame so we can export the entire design into Wix Studio in just a click. All right, so here it is. We have our frame, the entire site right here. We're gonna hit export frame and go over to Wix Studio to our import from Figma plugin right here. Give it a moment to import straight from Figma. Here it is. The preview looks good. So we're gonna add the frame as a page. It's going to do that. It's going to create a new page based on that full frame. Keep the tab open. It might take a few moments. All right. And the import is complete. Let's take a look. We've got our header with the nav, buttons, hero, the next section, the benefits section, the video about section with a button. Nice. Using the colors from the site styles. As you can see, it's using the right typography as well. Here, a little bit of an overlap on the date. That might be my bad in the design in Figma. We've got our business training section. Again, a button, nice. And we've got our mock-up for the testimonials. This is looking good. A little bit of a layout issue there. That's okay. I could adjust that button. And here we've got our exclusive global community. We've got the footer. All right, so let's just take a moment to appreciate how we went from Figma to Wix Studio in a matter of a couple of minutes, 2 clicks, and we exported the entire static design into a functional website here in Wix Studio that is responsive, using scale proportionally. Everything's laid out and organized nicely and ready for me to start working with and massaging to my needs. So we can also export the site in sections. And this is my favorite way to do it because then you can fine tune the pieces more easily. You can export a section, and if you see that something's not quite right, you can go back and fix the design or adjust it in Wix Studio. It just gives you greater control. Plus the load times are faster. So what I'm going to do is select the plugin, Figma to Wix Studio, and skip the setup. We're going to export a frame, and I'm going to choose the simple header frame right here. That's going to take a quick second. I'm going to export that frame, head over to our site in Wix Studio, the import from Figma plugin right here in the sidebar. Here it is. And I'm going to add that frame as a section, just like this. And it looks pretty good. I see one little issue with the text here. I can just modify that really quickly. Let's go ahead and add another section. I'm going to select the hero. It's going to take a second. I'm going to export that frame. Let's head back over to Studio. Here it is. Add it as a section. It's going to add it there. Now you might want to make sure that it's in the right order. It's currently adding it to the top for me, but what I can do is just right click on this section. I can move this down. I can also do it easily in the layers panel by just moving the sections like so. So now this looks really good. It's recognized the button here. So this is an actual button element, and this is text, but I can link that up when I'm ready. Now let's add another section. I'm going to select this section right here, this statement. It's a frame, and that is looking great. So I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of the sections here. So just give me a few moments. Okay, so now that we've got all of our elements and frames imported from the Figma to Wix Studio plugin, let's just take a quick look and see how it did. So far this looks incredible. Now I can spot a few differences that are not pixel perfect, like line heights, the spacing between this button here. There's a little overlap here in the calendar. Now, that's okay because I expect to tweak some things. And to be honest, these discrepancies were probably my fault. I may have some overlapping frames here in Figma. I may have some spacing issues. I may have a specific text set to like hug when it shouldn't be. I may have tweaked some things, and my auto layouts here might not be perfect. So if I want these elements to be stacked in Wix Studio, they need to be auto layouts. So there's lots of room for discrepancies on the designer's part. No plugin is going to be 100% perfect, but I have no problem going in here and spending a little bit of time tweaking things to be perfect. I'm okay tweaking some typography, a little bit of spacing. It's really not that hard. But on first pass of just importing our frames over from Figma to Wix Studio, this is great. Now, I just want to point something out here, what I find really cool. Let me just dig into this container here. We've got a container with these 3 elements, and we've got this text lockup that is in a vertical stack in Wix Studio. And the reason that that imported that way is because in our Figma design, if I go to that exact section, I set this element right here as an auto layout. So I have the image, the text, and the paragraph. That is actually in this element using auto layout. And as you can see, I've got spacing. So because of that auto layout, what that does is it translates into our Wix Studio site as a stack. And you can see it's pretty much using the same settings, 13 pixels in between the icon and the top level text. It's using the same padding on the outside, which is 10% because it's scaling proportionally, it's responsive, but it's using the same settings as we set up in our Figma design. So in order to get the best results, make sure that you're using frames properly for your top level frame. Make sure you're using frames for your sections. Make sure the spacing is correct. And for vertical or horizontal layouts like this, we want it to be using auto layout in Figma so that in Wix Studio, they become the proper containers and stacks. Very cool. So we've learned how to export the full frame website over into Wix Studio in just a couple clicks. And I also showed you how to do the individual frames, which gives us even greater control over where we lay these sections out and fixing any issues as we go. But I also want to show you that you can export individual containers and components from Figma into Wix Studio if you make changes and you want to adjust that. So let's say, for example, over here in Figma, I want to adjust this text lockup on the hero section here. So what I might want to do, let's just say I want to add another little bit of text here. So what I might do is just add some text, and I'm going to add that to this auto layout. And maybe I wanted to change the button color. So now what I can do is select this individual container here. We're going to export a frame, and I'm just going to select this individual frame right here. So I'm going to select that, export, go over to our Wix Studio site. I'm going to add the frame as and it recognized it as a container because of its size. I can add it as a section, but this is obviously a container. I'm going to add it. So now it's going to add that container right here. And what I could do is just go to my layers panel. I might want to remove the old one, take this new one and adjust it where I want it to go. And there it is. Looks great. Let's try one more component or container. I'm going to go down here to this little element right here. I like this, and I might want to reuse this on the site a number of times. So I'm going to select this element. I'm going to export a frame, and make sure you're selecting the frame you want to export. It's right here. We'll head back to Wix Studio, and here we have it. I can add the frame as a stack or as a container. Now this is great because I actually do want to add this as a stack. So I'm going to add the stack. All right. And here it is right here, our stray stack that was just individually added. And you can see it's quite literally a stack that I can go ahead and adjust. And it's here in our layers panel. We can see it's a stack and it's all nice and got the right hierarchy and it's semantic. That's excellent. So what I think is really cool about this is now what I can do is I can set this as like a asset. So I'm going to save this as an asset and just going to call it like feature. And now what I can do is, let's say I want to add one here in this section right here for some reason. So I can go to my assets and I can take it and add it to my site right here. So now that's a global asset that I can use. And now that we've saved hours by importing our Figma design straight over to Wix Studio, the final task would be to fine-tune and adjust your website as necessary. Specifically, we want to do things like make sure it's responsive. And of course, it scales proportionally out of the box, but we don't want the desktop layout on tablet and specifically mobile. So what we can do is we can fine-tune that ourselves. We can click on the viewport we want and adjust the design as we want. But thankfully, we've got something called responsive AI in Wix Studio. And I'm going to go ahead and try to see what it generates here as a responsive layout on this specific hero section. And so AI generated this mobile layout on the hero section for me. I'm going to go ahead and make some adjustments just so I'm happy with how it looks. So what I then go and do is just go through and make sure to adjust each of these sections so that they're responsive. And here it is. We went from static mockups in Figma to a robust, live, and responsive website in Wix Studio in just a few clicks. Go try the Figma to Wix Studio plugin right now. It's free and you can follow the link down in the description of this video, or if you're watching this on social, in my bio link. And let me know what you think about it in the comments. See you next time.